We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
David. Oh my God, there's a video here. I did not notice that. So I have not seen this video, so Rob will have to describe it to us at some point.
Sure.
Maybe you'll splice it in. Rob, you gonna feel like splicing video in?
In the video version.
Could be.
I suppose that could be done.
Doesn't-
I'm not sure if...
doesn't-
Well, it's only about a minute long.
Doesn't
so.
have to be. I don't really care. It's up to you. David has made progress on his theater build. Wiring is complete. The projector is mounted to the ceiling, and he's completed his construction of the acoustic panels. Where should he place each of the 8 acoustic panels? In this video, he's learning them against the wall in his proposed positions. Should any of them be moved?
So he had 2 at the back of the room, sort of in the middle behind where seats are going to go.
Yep.
That seems really good to me.
Yep.
There is an alcove to the left of his screen, so I can show the image of what he had before.
I can't see
so this was a guy who had that really big screen that was actually a little bit too big.
Yeah,
to the point that he's probably going to need some keystone correction. So there's an alcove over to the left. He had one panel sort of going horizontal across the wall in the alcove to the left to try and get rid of some of the reflections there. Mm-hmm. He had 3 along the right wall, the right side wall. Okay. So that should try to sort of equal out the alcove. So he's got the alcove on the left and then 3 panels on the right wall. And then I think the last 2 were on the front wall behind his front speakers. I think that was where he had them there for all 8 panels.
That sounds all right.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable to me. Yeah. where he had them looked pretty darn good. About the only thing I might have said is he had the 3 on the right-hand wall spaced out a little bit from each other. I wouldn't necessarily space them out because you've got that alcove on the left. You want to try to equal the loss of sound going into that alcove as much as you can to the right. I might, sort of maybe a little gap, a 1 or 2 inch gap between the panels, but I'd have
if
all
you
3
can put
panels
them
on that right wall.
side by side, I think that'd be the best way.
Side by side. Yeah. That's about it though. Otherwise, looks good to me.
He says that Rob previously suggested that he mount one to the ceiling, but if he does that, the rock will sag against the fabric, which won't look very good and will probably block the projector. Any thoughts on that? Why is
if that's the case, don't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, why is it sagging? It shouldn't sag. It really, really, really shouldn't sag.
He made really long panels though. For some reason, he went floor to ceiling. I guess if you like the look of that better, that's fine.
Yeah.
So since they're really long, if you're hanging them, I could see the middle maybe bowing down a bit.
Yeah, you should be able to support that. Okay. Anyways, if that's going to be a problem, then don't do it.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's okay.
Problem solved. So how should he mount his screen? He had 3 electricians come out to give estimates on moving the electrical box. 2 of them never produced estimates, saying it would be too expensive, and the third came back with nearly $3,000.
Yeah.
A friend suggested building a wall 2 feet in front of the box. The wall would stop where the built-in bench in the alcove on the left begins, leaving access to the electrical box. 2x4s and drywall cheap, so he could build a wall for a couple $100, but then he would lose 2 feet of length in the room. What do we think of this plan? Are there any alternatives? I have no idea.
You also already mounted your projector, which you're going to have to remount because you don't have enough zoom range to get the size of screen that you've got. So you'd have to remount the projector, but I mean that's certainly doable.
Yeah.
I was thinking of somehow like making a frame to hold the screen because this is a fixed frame screen.
Okay.
I was thinking you make a frame, like you build your own frame out of like a platform on the bottom and 4x4s or something like that, right? It'll hold the screen that is itself movable. Either you put casters on the bottom of that platform or you just, you have it on a rug and you can slide it. It's because you're not going to need to access that electrical box like all the time.
But you do need to have access for it for code.
But you need to be able to get at it. And honestly, if you only put a false wall, like a semi-permanent false wall, something you can't move without literally deconstructing it, if you only give 2 feet, I don't even know if that's allowed in code, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd have to look that up as well.
Yeah, you'd have to be really careful on that because you have to have access to that panel. Now, if it's something that can be moved out of the way, that's fine. Code doesn't worry about that. So I would consider making your screen essentially freestanding. Right, you construct your own frame of some sort to hold that screen.
Couldn't he just hang this thing from the ceiling?
But then how do you move it out of the way to get to the electrical panel?
It's just hanging. So you just push it to the side. Push it forward to get back there if you need to.
But he needs to have it as close to the ceiling as he can get it because of the projector.
I don't know what to tell you, dude. Get a smaller screen. I mean, I see what you're saying, and it's certainly cheaper than what he's saying. But it does seem like just hanging it from the ceiling, even if it has to be super duper tight, which is fine. I mean, you can do that. You just hang like a big wire across the back on the top of the frame that's as taut as you can get it, and then a couple of hooks that you string it across the top so that it is flush with the ceiling. And then when he needs to get access to it, he just pushes the thing forward or takes the screen off. I mean, you're not going to want to do that very often. But then again, when was the last time you went to your electrical box? I've been there once in I'm sorry.
Some of the time when you need to get the electrical box, though, is when the power's out. Do you want to be messing around in the dark with a flashlight in your mouth, flipping up a big screen? I'm like, build a frame that can move.
I like Rob's idea better than my idea, but I like the idea of having a smaller screen better than that. That you just move forward into the room so it has a bigger, you know what I mean? Get a smaller screen, move it into the room so it has the same viewing angle.
Yeah, this gigantic screen has caused him problems.
Yeah, it's causing you more problems than it's solving. I don't know that you're aware of this so far. I don't know if this has come home to you yet, but it is really just having this big screen that you have to sit flush to the wall. If you just had a smaller one that you pulled forward, all of your problems go away. It's like
or a retractable screen would also completely solve this problem.
Yes. So he also, speaking of problems, he also has potential problem with the projector mount Rob recommended. The mount itself is 5 inches, not the 2.5 inches that it claimed. And after mounting, distance from the ceiling to the center of the lens is 7 inches, which puts the bottom of the screen only 7 inches from the floor if he wants to avoid using keystone correction. How bad is keystone correction really? Should you just mount the screen where he wants? You should get just a smaller screen. Can we just get a smaller screen?
I want to make sure on that mount, first of all, because if it's twice the size that it says it is, that's horrible on the part of the marketing.
Yes.
But it does mention in the literature that it comes with an optional base. There's the base that attaches to the ceiling that can be removed, and you can just put the mount right onto the ceiling without the optional base. So I'm wondering if there is actually an optional base there that can be removed.
Okay.
Right? You might lose the tilt function from doing that, but they do mention that there's this optional base that's part of it. So I hope that's maybe some of it. Either that, or because it does have a tilt function, is it maybe actually tilted a little bit so that the distance that you measure could actually be shrunk if you tilted it back up. The front part of it.
Yeah.
So two things there. It's entirely possible that they just lied though, and it's actually 5 inches deep.
Marketing people suck.
Which is terrible. Terrible if they did that. Yeah. And I apologize. But yeah, other than that, I mean, keystone correction, it's not the end of the world.
It does suck though. I mean,
it's less than optimal.
You're doing all this work, so you got this great picture, and then you're going to add artifacts potentially to it by keystone correcting it. Mm-hmm. All of which can be solved just by having a smaller screen. I mean, all of this, all of these issues, every single one of them is caused by the size of this screen. It's every single one. So, and I know the problem is that you've already bought the screen, and I empathize with you. We've all been in your position where we're like super excited to buy this thing. We bought this thing. We got this thing home that we were super excited for, and we got it. We look at it. We get it in our house. We go, I have made a big grave mistake. And at first you're like in denial. No, we can make this work. We can do this. We can do that. Blah blah blah. And then it slowly over time kind of sinks in that we just have to do something else. We have to do something else.
It's a bite the bullet moment. Sometimes
it sometimes is. Now, if you don't want to do that and you want to have the screen and you're going to buy the movable wall and the poke a hole in the ceiling so you could shove the mount into it or whatever you're going to have to need to do to make this thing work. You can do it. You certainly can do it. You can spend $3,000 for the electrician to do the thing too. All this stuff can be done. But consider the other option, which is not doing any of those things. You're just getting a smaller screen, selling this one. It can be done as well. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.